Introduction to Mixcraft 5. When you first open up Mixcraft, you have a choice of either recording just audio tracks, loop tracks, or using MIDI and audio tracks. Or you can open up a project that you worked on before. So if you click on this drop-down menu, notice that you can see all the projects that have been recently worked on. And by the way, if you have a project that you worked on that was on this computer that you saved to a flash drive, it won't be listed there if you take the flash drive out. So be careful about that. Alright, so this is a song called Blood Pressurized. This is one of the demos that comes with Mixcraft. First thing you should do is look at the preferences. Go to File, Preferences. And your sound device is how you're going to be listening to the music. The latency should be below 50. And if it's above 50, you're going to have pretty significant delay. But this is basically like the delay. My settings may be different from yours because I have a different setup. This is the recording folder that is going to be used whenever somebody makes a recording into the computer. And the rest of these are pretty self-explanatory. The metronome, this is the sound that it uses. You can actually substitute that if you want. Effects, you can make CDs, but this doesn't always work. And then you can change your displays and stuff like that. So once you get your preferences set, here's your playback. Here's play, fast forward to the beginning, or sorry, to the end of the song. To this rewinds, and then this rewinds to the beginning, and then this is your record button. Notice your track settings. Get this out of the way. You have several different options within each track. You can change the pan right here. This is left and right. You can change the individual volume for each track. Mute, solo. This is called automation. When you click on it, it drops down a menu and it gives you a line. And that line is whatever is selected in this scroll bar. So if, let's say, I wanted to change the volume, well, I just make dots on the line where I want to change things, and it'll make it louder and then softer for that particular area.
You make my heart beat harder, loud as a symphony, loud as a symphony.
It's interesting. And you can also adjust more than just the volume. You can adjust the pan, which is the left and right speakers, same way. This is like all the right speaker. This is saying, hey, let's make it all come out of the left speaker. And then whenever you do effects, if you wanted to do the effects boxes right here, you can select any effects you want to add to it. You can edit the effects within there, and then let's say you wanted to have the effects start but then go away halfway through. Well, you can click on that particular effect and then change the amount of the effect throughout the piece utilizing this thing called automation. It's called Notice I've gone into my left channel only. So that's very helpful. This is going to allow your track to get recorded. Notice it even has the levels when I talk. And this drop down menu tells you which thing you're going to use to record with. Please note that if you do record onto the track, in order to hear it played back, you have to disarm the track first. Alright, so you've got two kinds of tracks that you can be using. You have what are called audio tracks. In this case, these are all audio tracks. And then you have what are called MIDI tracks. And if you look, you can see the notes are different in the MIDI tracks. You see how there's little dots? Those are MIDI. And then these are audio tracks. These are the waveforms. If you zoom in, you can look and see the waveform. Whereas if you look at the MIDI track, you see just lines. And so the MIDI track, you can always tell it's a MIDI track because it has this little teeny keyboard here. You can always change the actual picture here, but the MIDI track is always going to have this particular keyboard. When you click on that, it changes, or it allows you to change whatever sounds. And we have several sounds to choose from. On the left here, like harmonica, and you have to click, by the way, on something. It'll change it to whatever sound you chose. So I changed a blues harp. If I play that track now, it's going to have a harp sound instead of the original sound that it had. I don't know if you can hear it. And then we also have in our lab several software synthesizers to choose from as well. These are all the Acoustica sounds, but then you can go out of Acoustica and utilize other software programs for different sounds as well. And that'll be a more advanced feature for later on. Okay, an important thing to know how to do is to zoom in and out. You can use this, but that's kind of annoying. You can also use plus and minus, and you can use the scroll bar on your mouse. And another important thing is to know the difference between time versus beats. If you look in this area, the time is in seconds and minutes. Beats are in measures. So if the assignment is to write a minute long song, please be sure that you are aware if you're in time or beats, because if you'll notice, a minute is 60 seconds. So let's say you thought this was 60 seconds. Well, if you look at the time, because your tempo is at 192 beats a minute, it's actually a minute and 12 seconds. So it's 12 seconds longer. And if you have it even faster, then it's much longer than that as well. So be aware. If you're working with MIDI, you're probably going to want to use beats because that's organizing your music by measures. And it also works with the metronome. But if you're working with audio, you may want to record just using time so you can see how long your song is.